I believe. So last class, yeah, this is what we stopped, right? We talked about the molecularity of this model. Then unimolecular also I think we discussed. So basically unimolecular does not seem intuitive that only if one species is there what it will react, but there are decomposition or isomerization reactions where only one reactant is there. It will break into two or it will isomerize into a different component. Okay. So for this type of reaction, this is the rate law. We'll say what is the rate of, what is the change of concentration of A with time, and then we use this reaction constant K uni. Why is this in minus? Can anyone tell me?
A is reducing as with
Correct.
respect to time.
Because with time A is reducing, so this is positive, so this has to be negative. Fine. So these are some examples. O2 can break down to O atoms. Similarly, H2, and this is for isomerization. It could this could rearrange under certain conditions. It will happen when you apply some pressure or temperature. So this is just like example what sort of reactions are possible, and this is also a reaction. You cannot say that since there is no only one species in the reactant and product, it is not a reaction. It is a reaction. Okay, because the species molecule is changing. Now there is another reaction called termolecular reaction. Okay, so what you see here, A plus B plus M gives rise to C plus M. So can anyone guess what could be M? What it looks like?
Catalyst or like
Correct, because M is not reacting. It might have some intermediate reaction, but at the end of the global reaction, it is coming back to its original form. So it could be a catalyst, it could be a like metal surface where surface reactions are taking place. So what happens as uh, you will read this when you go to carbon combustion, soot particles. So at the surface of a solid, some gases could get as absorbed. Okay, they will be sticking to the, let us say, surface. At the surface, these two molecules can collide and react, and then they will come out as C. It could be also any other molecule also for catalyst. These are called third body reactions. So this is how the rate is defined. So one example is hydrogen atoms combining in presence of a catalyst, or hydrogen combining with OH in presence of catalyst to form water. Okay, now let us look at let us look at various type of reactions. So this is the global reaction. A2 plus B2 gives rise to 2AB. Now there will be different steps involved. Okay, this is what we see overall, but what are the steps through which it goes? So the first and the most critical is chain initiation, how the chain starts. Okay, so there could be M involved. M although is not shown here, but that because this is getting let us say in some intermediate reaction, it acts as a catalyst. So on M surface or by doing some reaction, M is broken down. Okay, this is chain initiation where you generate some radical which will actually proceed or trigger your reaction. Okay, then there are chain propagating or chain carrying reactions where one radical is there, it produces now AB and one another radical, or B is combining with A2 to produce one radical of A. So these are chain propagating reactions, right? The number of here what is happening, the number of radicals, if you look at the LHS and RHS, number of radicals is what, increasing or decreasing in the RHS?
Increasing.
increasing.
Increasing. So initiation means it is increasing. Propagating means it is remaining constant, 1 to 1. LHS we have 1, RHS we have 1. Terminating means we are now killing the reaction. We are reducing the number of radicals. Okay. So if let us say there's some reaction where we have this reaction which is going, which has a very high rate, or we have a lot of radicals being produced and a lot of this is not so much. So what will happen? I will repeat my question. So I have one particular example, let us say, where we have a high rate of reactions which are chain initiating, but a very low number of reaction or very slow rate of this type of reaction, chain terminating step. So what will be the resultant of in that system? Has anyone heard of explosion? Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
So this is what happens. This is called runaway. So you have lot of intermediate species which are a lot of radicals getting produced, and those radicals are not getting consumed. So they will trigger chain reactions, and because of that, your whole body of reactants goes into reacts very quickly in a very short time, and that gives rise to a very sudden increase of pressure and temperature. Okay, now let us look at an example. So this is methane combustion broken down in different steps. So this is the chain initiating reaction where methane reacts with oxygen to produce two radicals. Okay, there are two radicals involved. Propagation means LHS one radical, RHS one radical. These are the propagation steps. Now there are chain branching step. This is also radical CH2O, which will produce two radicals here. Chain propagating, one radical reacts with a stable species and produces another radical. Similarly here, and chain terminating. So what will happen? This will react with the wall. Okay, near the wall, when we talk about the flame wall reactions, so what happens near the wall? Basically, it quenches the flame. That we will study in limit phenomena. But this is what is basically killing your reaction. It is not allowing the reaction to go to, let us say, explosion mode. Is this thing clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us have a multi-step reaction. Okay, these are the different reaction rates involved. KF is for forward reaction, KR is for reverse reaction. So you'll have KF1 for this first reaction, KF2 for this reaction, and so on and so forth. Now, how do I write a compact notation? So basically, let us say I talk about the rate of O2 concentration change with time. So what I will do is I will take all the reactions which involve O2. Okay. See, there are multiple reactions going on in the, let us say, same system. There is a vessel, closed vessel, where all these reactions are taking place. Now, if I want to calculate the O2 concentration, I cannot ignore any reaction where O2 is also involved. So all the reactions I will take into account appropriately, and then basically I will sum all that. Okay, similarly for hydrogen. So if I want to calculate hydrogen concentration, all the reactions I will take, whether forward or backward is involved, I will take and I will add or subtract them based on whether it is, see, for example, KF1. If we go to KF1, it is decreasing the, sorry, H2O2. So if I talk about this H2O2 and there should be a minus actually here. Let me do this correction. You understand why I'm saying so? Oh, sorry. This is for H.
Yes, sir.
So there will not be minus. If it is H2, then there should be a minus. because I'm talking about H. H is here. So forward reaction is increasing H. So this is positive. Now what will be negative? This KR1. KR1 is consuming H. So that will go to negative. Is this clear to everyone? How we are accounting for forward and backward reactions?
Yes, sir.
Fine. These are quite straightforward. Anyway, but if anyone has doubt, please stop me. Okay. Now when we have a lot of multi-step reactions like this, so how do we compactly note when we write the reaction? What we can do is we can write species in this, say, let us say xj or xi xj, and we can denote the stoichiometric coefficients by this symbol. Okay. So for example, let us say these are the species involved and these are the j. J is 1 to numbering of that. And I is the stoichiometric coefficient. So if you look at these reactions, okay, these are the species involved and I can write I is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So this is first reaction, second reaction, third and fourth. That is how we can combine, write this 4 reactions in a single notation using I and J notations. Okay. Okay. Another important approximation is quasi-steady approximation. Okay. So when we have a scenario where the rate of formation is equal to the rate of destruction. Okay, there could be multiple reactions involved. If you take the sum of all the reactions which are forming that species and sum of all the reactions which are consuming that species or rate of destruction, if this is equal, then we can say that it is sort of quasi-steady state. Okay. So for example, let us look at this example where nitrogen is getting oxidized. So we have one very slow step. Then we have one very fast step. N plus O2 is very rapid. This K2 will be very high as compared to K1. So when we talk about the concentration of N with respect to time, so these two will take into consideration. Now, when I say quasi state means I am saying that the concentration of N does not changes with time. So I'll put 0 here, and if I equate it with 0, so N, I will say that N is steady state. Then I can, using this equation, I can just calculate N steady state as this. Okay, so basically what happens is that we have a rapid build-up and then it is also destroyed very rapidly. So it turns out that it is almost constant. It is not changing with time. So for such a scenario, we say that we take this quasi-steady state approximation. Is this okay?
Yes, sir.
Fine. Another approximation is partial equilibrium. Okay. So if you look at the elementary reaction, there are multiple steps which are going on simultaneously, and they could be both fast and slow. Okay, all the reaction rates will not be same, so that some will be very fast, some will be very slow. Now there are some reactions where fast reactions are rapid in both forward and reverse directions. Okay, so what we can assume in such a scenario is that if the species were equilibrated, okay, so let's say that because forward and backward are at very fast rate, so we'll assume that these are at equilibrium. That is called partial equilibrium approximation. Anyway, once we go to numericals, we'll see some examples concerning this. And lastly, we'll talk about pseudo first order reaction. Okay. So basically what happens is when one reactant is present in excess, okay, or somehow I am maintaining a constant supply so that the concentration is maintained throughout the reaction. Okay, let us say I am having a hydrogen or any fuel oxidation. Now, if I keep on supplying oxygen at a constant rate at which it is burning, so oxygen will always be maintained at constant concentration. So in that case, I can, when I talk about the reaction rate, I can simply take the concentration of fuel only. I don't need to bother about the oxygen because it is anyway constant. So then it is actually not a first order, but I can assume it to be first order. That is called pseudo first order. Okay, it is actually a second order reaction. Oxygen is also involved. I should account for that. But since by some method I am maintaining oxygen to be constant, hence I can, to make the calculation simple, I can forget about the rate of oxygen or concentration of oxygen, and I can only bother about the concentration of fuel. Then I can approximate it as a pseudo first order reaction. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes? No?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us talk about Kp and Kc. These are the equilibrium constants which we will be dealing with. More use you will see in the numericals following. So let us say we have a reaction like this where Kf is for forward and Kr is for backward reaction. Now this is basically equilibrium constant for when we talk about gaseous phases. Okay, so Kp basically considers your pressure of this component. Okay, pressure of, let us say, C and D raised to the power of their stoichiometric coefficients, small c, small d, and these are actually partial pressures. Pressure of P divided by the total pressure. P naught is the total pressure of the system. Okay. And what about Kc? Kc is basically your concentration raised to the power your stoichiometric coefficients. Okay, this is how we define Kc and Kp. I hope this you might have also studied in your 12th standard or somewhere. So how do we relate Kp and Kc? By using this. So concentration and partial pressures can be related by using universal gas RTP by P naught and the difference in stoichiometric ratio. You can actually easily verify. You can use this and see how you are finding concentration by using this. You can end up with this. Okay. So let us take one example where, let us say, this small abcd is 1 for all. Okay, a plus b is, the coefficient is 1. Okay, so for equilibrium we can say that if your a b c d all are 1, in that case your Kc and Kp will be equal. You can use here also, if this two are, this minus this is 0, then this will become 1. Kp is equal to Kc. Okay, fine. Let us now go to numerical problems. So, any questions so far? Any questions we can discuss, otherwise we'll go on to numericals. People are there or not?
Sir, we are present, no questions.
Okay, fine. I will start with the numericals. So, okay, let's say that there is a vessel, closed vessel, which contains this much concentration of NO2 and temperature is given. Now this NO2 is decomposing into NO and O2. So what reaction is this? Unimolecular, bimolecular? Can anyone say?
bimolecular.
Why bimolecular? Only one species.
So two molecules are reacting.
Correct. Two molecules are reacting to form. That's why it is bimolecular. Okay, good. So now what is the question is determine the rate of reaction assuming Kf is given, activation energy if this RR is obtained as at another temperature. Okay, so when you say activation energy, what comes, what form of reaction comes into your mind? What we have discussed? What rate equation? In which topic we talked about activation energy? Shall I go back or anyone remembers?
Arrhenius equation, sir.
Correct. So Arrhenius form is what we have to use. When you see this activation energy, first thing should come to mind, Arrhenius form. So now what is given is that reaction rate is half of this. Okay. This is because half is coming from here. Or I can write forward reaction into square of this. So now this is given, Kf is given to be 770. Okay, one thing I want to emphasize is be very careful what units are given. So I have seen lot of people doing mistakes in unit. So make sure either you use SI units or whatever is given you write properly and be consistent. Otherwise unnecessarily people are doing mistakes and losing marks. So I just want to highlight this issue. Okay, so since this is also in centimeter cube per mole second, this is also there. So we can take that and multiply. Okay, now what we are doing is we are multiplying Kf by this NO2. NO2 is given to be 10 to the power minus 6. Okay, this is also mole per centimeter cube. So we can use both of them consistently. So if we multiply, I get this is what is the reaction rate. Okay, now we know that we are talking in terms of Arrhenius. This is the general form of Arrhenius equation. So if I take log both sides, okay, I will get log of K1, let us say K1 log of A, and then I will this exponential will be removed and it will be minus of EA by E1 into R2 RU. So if we talk about two reaction rates, what is actually given here? 400 and 600. So I can write two equations where we have different temperatures. EA will be same, RU will be same. So if I combine these two equations, I can say that E, if I basically solve these two to obtain what is the value of E, E can be expressed in this form. Okay, you can do some algebra and check whether you are getting this or not. Now I'll just simply use this value of RU is this, temperature is already given 600 and 650, so multiply that, and E is also given where 650 and sorry, K is KF is 770 and 400. This is K1 and K2. Temperature is given to you 600 and 650. So you can just simply substitute and calculate. Is this clear? This is your energy of activation. Okay. This is clear. I should go to the next problem.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we'll talk about the steric factor, the bimolecular collagen theory that we have discussed. So let us say this is the reaction we have at a given temperature, and see, this is a very big assumption. We are assuming it to be a hard sphere of this given diameter. Okay, now it could not be a perfect sphere and lot of things are there, but this is a general assumption that we take for simple calculations. We assume that it is hard sphere and this is the equivalent diameter of that sphere. So that is given for O and S2 in Armstrongs. And experimental parameters are, let us say, you can read from a table or it will be given to you in the question. So let us say this is the table we have. Okay, so again, we are talking in terms of Arrhenius reaction rate. We are given A, B and EA. These are all given for different reactions. So this is the reaction which we are concerned with. So this column, this row corresponds to that reaction. So these values will take from the table. This is the value for A, B and EA and for this temperature range. Okay, 2000 Kelvin is mentioned. So we'll take 2000 Kelvin. This corresponds to that, right? So this is the equation we derived for KT. If you remember, or you can go back to previous slides, assuming different lot of assumptions were there, kinetic theory, probability and all that. Okay. So this, we also mentioned this can be expressed in this form, which is basically Arrhenius rate. Now using these two equations, I can, if you do some rearrangement, you will get P in this form. Okay. Basically you take all this and divide by this. So exponential term will get cancelled and you will be left with Avogadro number, radius, diameter square and this term. That is what is shown here. Now all these values we got from that table. Okay, one important thing is when we are talking about here sigma AB. So sigma AB is the equivalent or average diameter for these two species involved. So we'll just, these two values we know, so we'll just take the average of that. So 2.9 Armstrong. Okay. Now we also need to find, okay, so as I mentioned, all this is coming from kinetic theory of gases. We are not got into detail, but this is the basic background behind that. Now for that, we also, if you remember this term, okay, this is basically the equivalent mass for these two atoms or species. Okay, so for that, I need to calculate what is the mass of oxygen atom. What is this? Basically, I am taking the molar mass divided by Avogadro number. So I am getting what is the mass for, let us say, one atom for that species. Is this clear? Mass of O atom, mass of S2 molecule. Is this clear what I am doing here? You people are there or not?
Yes, sir. We are here. It is clear
Okay.
till now.
So we are getting mass for oxygen and hydrogen, and then based on that, I am calculating equivalent mass. Okay, mu. So simply I am just substituting these values. Kb is a Boltzmann constant. This has standard values like Avogadro constant. So finally, what we wanted to calculate? We wanted to calculate P. This is the equation we are using for P. Now A is given from the table. Temperature we know, B is coming from the table. Sigma AB we calculated here. Kb is the universal gas constant. Avogadro number you know. Temperature you know. Mu just now we have calculated here. Sigma is also calculated here. So simply I will substitute all these values and calculate P. So P comes out to be 0.075. Is this okay? It is too much tedious or what? People look bored. I don't know. Is these steps are clear or not clear? Or any questions, please feel free to ask.
Clear.
Clear, sir.
Okay. So let us take another example. So what it says, basically we are talking about the rate coefficients for NHO system. Okay. Hansen and Seligman, these are two people from Stanford who have done a lot of experimental measurements. Okay. So for this reaction, they are saying that Kf can be represented in this form. Okay. So what is Kf is for forward reaction. Now the question says determine Kr for the reverse reaction this at the given temperature. Okay. So we know that Kf by Kr is basically equal to Kc or Kp because, okay, why I can write Kc and Kp are equal?
No change in number of moles of gases.
Correct. So because of that, Kp and Kc will be equal. Now Kp I know this is that slide we defined minus delta G and R dut. So this also we can find from this value, standard values of Gibbs free energy will be given in tables or provided in the question. So let us say you have these values. It is simply a matter of adding and subtracting. Then you will get, this is the delta G for this particular reaction. Now Kp is, if you substitute this G, temperature you know, universal gas constant you know, this is the value. So once you substitute, you will get the value of Kp. Now I know Kp, I know the rate of forward reaction. From where this we got this, we use this equation and we substitute for T. That's all. Instead of T here, I am writing 2300 Kelvin because this is what is given in the question. Okay, exponential of minus 20,000 divided by T. So T is here. Right? Just substitute the value of T in this given equation. Basically, it is giving you forward reaction as the function of temperature. Now I know the temperature, so I will substitute and find Kf. Now you see what we have got and what we need to find. I know what is Kf, I know what is Kp. Kp and Kc both are equal. So from this equation, can I find Kr?
Yes, sir.
So I'll just simply divide. Kr is Kf by Kp and this is the value you'll get. Again, I have not been careful here, but it is advisable that every step you mention what are the units, just to be safe and don't do mistake. Okay, next question. So we'll talk about Zel'Tovich mechanism. We have not covered this, but when you go to pollutant, which is I think your last chapter, this is a very important and very famous mechanism for NOx formation. Okay, there are different pathways through which we say that NOx is getting formed, and this is actually a very hot area for research nowadays, because when we, let us say when we talk about gas turbines, okay, so with the current state of the art, gas turbine performs very well in let us say combustion efficiency, cycle efficiency, operating fuel efficiency, everything is quite optimized here. So what is the challenge we are all the industries are facing now is they are these emission norms are increasingly becoming stringent. Okay, for example, you might have heard of this Euro norms or Bharat norms, Euro 4, Euro 6. Has anyone heard or not?
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
So recently, I think 1 year back or something, there was a order from the government that Bharat 4 or Bharat 4 will be vehicles will not be sold after this time, after May or something, March or April of last year, I believe. So these are basically emission norms, and they tell you that how much quantity of pollutant is allowed. If you are having a vehicle, running vehicle on road, then this is the ppm or grams per kilometer of pollutant you are allowed to have in your exhaust pipe. Okay, So same type of emission norms are also there for aeroplanes, right? Which anyway we will be studying in detail. I'm just giving you a brief flavor so that you can appreciate what is being asked in this question. Okay. So Zeldovich is actually a very critical or very what do you say, famous reaction, which is a very hot area of research nowadays. Gas turbine industry is building on this and trying to. This is actually very challenging to model NOx. If you do CFD, when you do let's say open form of fluent, NOx is a very trace species. It is measured in ppm, parts per million. So to model that accurately is very crucial for gas turbine design, and still we are in, let us say, early stages of this model development. So a lot of research is going on, and in future this is a lot of research will also be lot of funding will be given to this sort of mechanism development or measurement of species in experiment. So this is a very interesting area of combustion research, particularly important from the point of view of industries. Anyway, let us come back to the question. So this question says that this is a Zeldovich mechanism, let us say. Now second reaction is much faster than the first. So we can say that steady state approximation we can take to evaluate an atom concentration. Now in high temperature system, NO formation is typically much slower than other reactions involving O2 and O. This is, let us say, all this information is given to you. Thus, O2 and O can be assumed to be in equilibrium. Okay. So because, okay, let us say this is given that it is a high temperature system. This is the given information to you. And NO reaction is much slower compared to the reactions involving this. Because of that, I can assume that O2 and O are in equilibrium. Okay, this is what I can assume because of the different rates. Okay, now the question says to construct a global mechanism such that this is forming NO, and I can write that rate of concentration, rate of change of concentration of NO as in this term. So basically the question asks us that given the data, given whatever data is given to you, based on that you construct a reaction, overall reaction, and you find these values of Mn and Kg. Okay, the question is clear or not clear?
Sir, just repeat once again, sir, please.
Okay, so basically what is given to you is some, let us say some reactions are given, and it is specifically mentioned that NO formation reaction is much slower. Okay, NO is slowly getting formed, but O2 and O, these are very fast as compared to NO. So I can assume that O2 and O are in equilibrium. Okay, if you go back a few slides, we have some partial equilibrium assumption. Do you remember that, or do you want me to go to that slide?
Sir, I remember it.
Okay, so that is what is being used here. So we are assuming that this is in equilibrium. Okay, now based on the given data, we are asked to construct, let us say this is the global mechanism. Okay, now if that is the global mechanism, elementary are given to you, you need to find what are the constants involved for this global reaction. That's all. This is also given. Now I need to find what is Kg, what is M, and what is N from the given elementary rates.
Now it is clear, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So from the elementary reactions, we know that NO, so this is the elementary reaction. NO is getting formed, K1F and K2F. In this reaction, N2 is reacting with O and N is reacting with O2. Both reactions are producing NO with some other species. So when I talk about NO rate, I will take the both the reactions which have NO in them. So this is how it will look like. And when we talk about N, then again we'll take all the reactions. Now here K2F is producing NO, so K1F and K2F is producing NO. So both are positive, right? Plus plus. Now for when I talk about N, so K1F is producing N, so this is positive. K2F is consuming N, so it will be in negative. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, one very big assumption here is that we are saying that reverse reaction rates are negligible. Forward reaction is predominant. Okay. Now we talked about steady state. Steady state is what? We say that the concentration of this species is not changing with time. If you want, you can go back to that slide. So with the steady state assumption for N, this is what we also, similar type of example we derived. Remember that? Let me go back to that slide. So we talked about steady state. Yes. Remember we talked about there is a slow reaction, fast reaction. Then when I say that it is a steady state, then this becomes 0. That's all. This becomes 0, and N I will write as NSS, N steady state. That's what we are doing in that particular example. Are you able to connect this or not? Yes, students, tell me if you want, I can repeat this again.
Got it, sir.
Got it? Okay. Then let us go back to the problem. This is exactly what we are doing, nothing different. Okay. So assume that N reaches steady state. So dN by dt is 0. If you put that dN by dt is 0, then I can say that if you equate this, use this 2, you will get this form. Okay. Now, sorry, we can write NO and rate of change of concentration of NO. Okay. Is this basically I'm taking this example? Let me write it down. So dNO by dt, I'm just taking from here. In this, now I know what is the concentration of N because I've assumed steady state. So I know this N, that I will substitute it here. So I'll take this reaction, I will substitute N here, and from that I will get this particular expression. Okay, which can further be simplified into this form. Okay, K2, this will get cancelled, this will get cancelled, and we are remaining with K1F N2O, K1F N2O, so it becomes 2 times. Is this okay? So now we talk in terms of partial pressures. Sorry. So Kp can be expressed in terms of partial pressure of oxygen and O and O2. Okay. So again, O will be, basically I'm doing some rearrangement, that's all. Rearranging this, O can be expressed in terms of Kp and other partial pressures. dNO by dt I know from here. Okay, forward reaction. Let me go down. It is little bit tricky, so just bear with me and ask me if you have doubt. Okay, we are just doing some rearrangement, that's all. So in this slide, what we have derived, dNO by dt is equal to this much, right? Now if I know what is the concentration of O, I can substitute this here and find dN by dt. That is what we are doing here. We found O in terms of Kp. Okay. Now we know that dNO by dt is this much, right? O we got in the next slide. That is what is being substituted here. You see, this value I'm substituting in the last slide, and I'm getting this. Is this clear how this equation is coming?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, it is little bit tricky, so just pay attention. Now I have to do some rearrangement, that's all. If I do some rearrangement in this, I will get Kg as in terms of forward reaction and in terms of Kp. Okay, once we have that in the global reaction, where we need to find Kgmn for this rate equation. Okay, so Kgmn that we need to find. So let me do one thing. We'll take this so that I will take this on this slide so that you also are clear what we are doing. Okay. So the question says that in this particular reaction we need to find Kg, N and M. So we have got a rate expression in this form, right? Now looking at this, can you tell me what is the coefficient of N2 in this reaction? What is the coefficient of N2?
1.
1. What is for O2?
Half.
Half. That is what we are writing here, right? M is 1, N is half. And what about Kg? Kg is basically this quantity. This is for Kg. That is what we are writing here. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, fine. We are done with the numericals. Let us now look at, you have any class after this, or I can take 5 more minutes extra?
Sir, we have class. I have class.
Okay, I will, we have 5 minutes. I will try to wind this up quickly, okay? So, okay, or otherwise, let us postpone this to the next class. So, we'll stop with this. Next class, we'll try to wind this up. Fine? I will stop for today. I will request you, I will upload the slides. Go through these numericals once. Okay, it may look intimidating, but once you go through that and go through the relevant slides or discussed, it should be clear. If you have any doubt, next class, please ask me. So that